Hello everybody. Let's exit to port. It is currently the 23rd of September 2025 at 12:27 Central European Time. Or is it summertime still? I don't know. It's at least 12:28 right now. I do believe we are technically within winter time, but we're not gonna worry too much about that. About such silly things that just are crazy and all made up by capitalists. I said what I said. And someone else who says what they say is Grumbles the Dwarf.
Hello, it's me. That's all I have to say at this particular juncture.
So that's been a good podcast. Thank you for coming. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Oh god! You know what? One day we need to do that. Just release that as a joke episode or something, just to
April episode.
Yeah.
Like, call it like the episode 4.1 or something. 4.69.
Oh god. Well, I mean, technically, if we get to season 6 and we have our September episode, that would be season 6, episode 9. So
there you go. The jokes write themselves.
Nice.
Which is just as well.
Because we really shouldn't. Oh, good lord. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome to Exit the Port in northern Norway. I woke up to snow on the mountain tops, so that's great. I hope that's not a sign about us definitely having a long winter. Hooray. But
you do live in northern Norway.
Yeah, but still, before October has even hit, that's a bit early. I won't lie.
Yeah, yesterday's high here was 14 degrees centigrade.
Oh, that would have been lovely.
With a low of 10. Yeah.
Oh, you see, that's kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect. Yeah. Well, I'll take what I can. Speaking of can, I'm gonna have a sip of energy drink. It's what fuels me. That and Spite. It's not really. Not a sponsor. By neither Spite nor energy drinks.
Not sponsored by Spite. Good thing.
Oh, we're off to a good one here, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Started off heavy, staying heavy.
Oh yeah, that's what she said.
Just keeps going.
Yeah. Thank you to our patrons, because you keep us going. And even though there's not really been many comments or such from you guys lately, I still want to say thank you to those of you who choose to dedicate and patronize. Patronize? No, that's the wrong word.
Yeah, thanks for patronizing us.
Patronage? For your patronage.
Thank you for your patronage, yeah.
For $2 or equivalent per month. You make it a bit easier for us to float this podcast, especially in this economy. So thank you so much for that. We'll get back to your names a bit later. But if you want to be part of the people that do that and who are guaranteed to get their questions and comments in if they actually post them to us, you can go over to patreon.com/exit2port. That's patreon.com/exit2port. You can find stuff there, and I have some plans for something extra for you guys for Christmas or something that will only be on Patreon. It will not be posted to the main feed at all. Speaking of main feed, there are games out there. And since we started this podcast, we've shifted heavily in what games we focus on. I still play a lot of World of Warships every single week, and I am enjoying it, and I'm especially enjoying the 10-year anniversary event. But I think we can safely say that if it hadn't been for World of Warships and how it all started for us, we wouldn't be sitting here and saying thank you for the opportunity of playing these games, to show them off to people. And I was super lucky not long ago to be invited to play Borderlands 4. A big title, and a franchise that has captivated people from the first game, Borderlands 1, and then 2, that was a big success. Borderlands 3, not so much, but there's like the entire franchise is so huge and so well known that when I first got the email saying, oh hey, you wanna play this game? You wanna have a preview of it? I was like, is this a joke? Am I being conned? What's going on here? And and it was just wild. It was just wild to me. So I just, because it didn't ask me to go to any website to click on anything. It was just simply reply to this email with what platform you're on. And I was like, you know what? Nothing wrong will happen if I just reply to the email with what platform I'm on and saying, yes, please, I'd like to play this. Because they weren't asking for any other information. They weren't asking me to enter my email into anything. They already had that. They had all the information. They just needed a confirmation for me. So I was like, sure, you know what, I'll jump on it. And a few days later, on a day where I normally don't stream, suddenly, after having made dinner, just like an hour or so after the full release, popped in a key in my email being like, hey, you can now play it. What?
Nice.
Hold on. I was so shocked, because my little channel being allowed to show off this game as a first review kind of thing out there, together with names like Gassy, Burke, Cream, and all the others that have so much infinitely larger channels than me. I was like, okay, yep, this is fun. I was super proud. I was super happy. And I will say that game is a glorious gore fest shooter, like you can expect with any of the Borderlands games, and I will fully enjoy it. So thank you to 2K for sponsoring that stream for me. That was amazing.
Nice.
Do you have any experience with Borderlands games?
No, I'm only very, very vaguely aware of Borderlands. It's not really my cup of tea, but I know it's been very big release and popular of late. Mainly I know this because when you see some of those people like you've mentioned, and two, I've had people coming in chat going, you know, the usual thing when something gets too big and overhyped for some, they're like, thank goodness you're not playing that other game. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Welcome in.
I always find it weird when people do that, but yeah, I can see that for some games, because it's the weird thing with Borderlands 4 was, unlike a lot of other titles, you didn't see weeks and weeks and weeks of ad campaigns or such. It was just la full release. And everybody's like, what? Hold on, what? When? How? Because normally there's a lot of pressure. You know, you're building up the hype. No, they just kind of wafted it out there and went, have fun. Wafted? It's the wrong word. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, well, it's been wafted out there now. So.
Speaking of
No
wafting,
take back seats.
Star Trucker full release. Go.
Yeah, it was just super fun. It was one that I played the demo of. I didn't get a key or anything, but I saw it went on sale recently, and I've been looking for a couple of things that are kind of chill and some nice kind of like in a positive way, but like filler games where I don't have to get too heavily invested or know all the things. Just I can just jump into it and play it and pick it up and drop it as I need to. And yeah, it fit the bill, and just had a really good time with it. It was there's only one slight drawback for me, and that is that whatever it is with the field of view or however they've programmed it, I am a little bit susceptible to games sometimes being a bit headachy for me, wearing my eyes out and stuff. And that is unfortunately in that category of games, but it's not on the bad end of that scale. So I was able to play it for like 6-hour sessions, and that I was a bit headachy at the end of it. Just mentioning that only because, you know, if other people are affected and maybe thinking about getting that game, that was definitely one that hit me a little bit. But overall, like the ambience, the golden oldie radio station that they have running, it's kind of weird because you go from this quite panicked, you know, every little dent and ding is making a hole in your ship, and you're running out of oxygen, and all your batteries and your stuff to maintain is pretty low, and it's hard to come by replacements, to then you get five or so jobs under your belt, and then you're cruising then, and obviously there's different difficulty levels and everything. I was just playing on the defaults, and yeah, I got really super into it. After the end of the second level, it was like, okay, this is like totally smooth sailing now. It's got a simple progression system with some little buffs, mainly just about getting additional job types unlocked and things, taking fragile or last minute just in time orders and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's just kind of what you need on one of those, you know, more brain dead, simple, let's just chill out kind of days, have a bit of a laugh, because you're driving trucks, which for most is not an everyday experience, and it's in space, so there's like inertia and everything, and then yeah, you slam into stuff sometimes, and sometimes you're chilling out listening to the radio, and other times there's a solar flare and you can't see anything, and everything ends up back to front and upside down and stuff. So, but yeah, it's a good chill kind of fun time, I think.
Is there really back to front and up and down in space?
Oh, well, for me there is. The way I think of it.
Yeah, no, that's
I always
fair.
think up down because it's relative to what I know. And I know that there's always people that come in with that kind of comment and want to have that discussion, and it's like, it doesn't matter. To me, it's up. I have to press up on the keyboard to go up to it. So it's an up, down, left, right. And you can, how many times have you been to space is usually my counter. So it's wonderful to talk about those kind of things sometimes. But yeah, good laugh. Recommend it if you're looking for something, you know, pick it up on sale. It was about $13-14, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, worth it. And like I've done 2 like 6-hour sessions of it, and you know, I'm not even probably like a third of the way through. And I haven't been particularly side questy. I've just been playing the game and following it has these like loose little missions to go on, or like NPCs that you're interacting with, and they want you to go and do things. It's kind of cool.
I don't know why, but Star Trekker kind of reminds me of like it gives me the feeling of Breath Edge, but it's Breath Edge if you had a job and there was no catastrophe.
Yeah.
Like it's it's weird because it kind of feels like, oh yeah, this could go on in the same universe. But then you have some
100%.
some poor explorer that gets sent off into space on a big haul, and then that's how you end up in Breath Edge. But then you have this normal, average day Joe Schmo just driving a space truck, going around. Yeah, there you go. He's doing his job, living in the same universe.
I'm gonna say it so that commenters can be like, "Dang it, I was gonna say that." Breath Edge is basically what happens after I've been in Star Trucker for a couple of years. There, I said it before you could.
AKA Subnautica in space instead of on a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Star Trucker. Pick up your load and deliver it today. Or something. It certainly seems calming enough. But then again, like I've already mentioned for other games, and I will mention again a bit later, you have a tendency to get very, very into the role. Do you feel like you have stayed away from the panic?
I mean, there's definitely the beginning of the game what I found quite stressful.
Yeah.
It was, when there's lots of like holes, there's a lot of gravity breaking all the time, stuff flying all over the place. The main thing was you need these batteries for some of your systems, and you just have the sense of like, how do I get the batteries? Oh, I got to go to a shop. Oh, okay, but then I need money, and it's like, but I keep breaking down or running out of batteries, so I can't get the job done. So at the beginning, it's again on the default settings, it's a little bit like I genuinely felt a bit stressed of like, oh man, I really want to enjoy this and get on with the trucking, but I'm just like breaking down and gonna die all the time. But some of that was just like relearning the game a little bit as well, and getting a feel for what had changed since the demo. In addition, so yeah, and that lasted for like a couple of hours, and then we had like the kind of process down, and it just started to ease up and be more and more fun as we found more things. Yeah, and you make plenty of money from the jobs. It's just, they penalize you and fine you for anyway. I personally felt a little bit hard done by some of the moments. But I think it just added to the fun. Like it didn't genuinely upset me, but it made me like in character. I was like, what are you fining me for that? That's unfair. I did not drive into anything. Why am I getting fined for bad driving? Or it was one, I think I got a $10 fine or something for like unprofessionalism. I'm like, what? What does that even mean?
It probably means you flipped someone off as you were
Probably,
outside.
yeah.
Something like that.
We truck drivers can relate.
Would you compare the start to Star Trucker with like how it feels a bit complex and a bit stressy with how the start to Raft is, where everything is in shortage? You don't really have the entire operation set up. You're not equipped to be quickly getting food and water and such. So it's all a bit
Yeah, I think that's a good. Not to say it correlates exactly directly, obviously, but it's a comparable feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and also you mentioned it, Breath Edge, where you're like struggling. You don't have like enough gear for oxygen when you're going out. You need to go out to get stuff, and it gets very like quick trip. Grab a couple of things. I need to get like 5 more things, but I need to go back and get my air again, and yeah, a little bit like that. And then you start to get a feel for like, okay, this is the limit I can kind of push myself to. This is where to go and get the things I need a bit more easily, or how to recognize things in the game. There's definitely an element of that, but it's not as intense as Raft is probably a good sort of parallel.
Yeah.
Loosely, yeah.
It felt like, the way you describe it, it felt kind of like how I felt when I first played Raft. Where it was like, I need to do these things. I need to make sure that Bruce doesn't eat that. I need to, and then you're kind of slowly building out and slowly getting more space and getting more of the stuff to kind of keep afloat. And that's what it felt like when you described the batteries and the need to get to places, and you're finally kind of settling it. Okay, now I have things. Now I'm good. Okay, now we're in the game now. Cool. Yeah,
exactly. It's not, I think, either of those games, they're not overwhelming to the point where you don't want to do it, but there's definitely that sense of like, I absolutely have to do this. This is, I'm not going anywhere unless I get this taken care of. Whereas Breath Edge is a bit like, oh my god, I can't do this right now. And you have to really force yourself to persevere. It's good fun in its way, but it's a lot more of a challenge at the beginning, I think.
I really need to play Breath Edge.
Mm.
I think I'd enjoy that more than Subnautica, so yeah, we'll see. Speaking of something we need to play, Dune Chapter 2 arrived not long ago.
Yep.
And it gave us a bit more story. It gave us some new vehicles. What else did it give us?
It gave me quite a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, there's some new missions, some NPC stuff. For me, the lines are a bit blurred between what was just Chapter 2 and what was the added DLC content. So I'm gonna be honest and say I won't really split it up whenever we talk about it. It's just all part of that bundle for me. Thanks to Funcom for making that available to me. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought that, I mean, there's obviously some subtler things as well, some optimizations and whatnot, improvements like your favorite, I guess, the being able to name storage containers and vehicles now.
Yes, so good.
It's a very nice quality of life change. Yeah, and the story and everything that it gave, with the rewards at the end, again, the DLC part with the vehicle, it felt very like rewarding, very worthwhile. The voice acting, and the sort of cinematics, as well as just the overall feel of and quality of the content, were very high, very enjoyable. So my hats off to them for sure for like the quality that they delivered to. Was very impressive to me. Yeah, I thought it was a good old time. You haven't had a chance yet, have you, to get into that?
No.
Chapter 2 stuff.
So I'm still kind of playing through, and yesterday I had a bit of a neurodivergent day and just needed to play games. Needed to just play, and then I decided to sit down with Dune, and something I realized while I was playing yesterday is there's no real direct like it doesn't tell you where you need to go and do in order to continue this journey that you've been on always. And on one end, that felt really good because that means you're in a huge immersive world and there's not going to be like a question mark or an exclamation point coming up over the head of whoever gives you a new quest line or such. But at the same time, it felt a bit Gandalf at the top of the stairs and like, I have no memory of this place. Because there's been a few weeks where I haven't played. And then trying to pick that up so that I can get into the chapter 2 part was a bit, where do I go? Who do I speak to? What does this end do? And then you point someone at someone with a sword, and then they go ow, and then you go right. So it was a bit weird for me, but So I did the wreck of the Hephaestus. So I'm I'm still far behind.
Yeah.
And I also did the I've just met Thufir.
Right. Yeah.
So in the Assassin's book, I'm still far behind. But at the same time, it's like I still feel like I'm missing something, but but I'm not sure what I'm missing, so it's kind of hard to ask for it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, I have a similar kind of experience with Dune overall, and I think in a way, I think it's almost a victim of itself in terms of, not a victim, it's the wrong phrase, but some of the complexity I think comes from that they've just tried to deliver like absolutely as much content as they can. So there's like loads of main quest things, like multiple, like there's the core like assassins thing and the mystery surrounding yourself.
Mm.
But then there's like other quests that feel like parallel running main quests, and some of them sort of loosely tie into the main one, but they don't absolutely kind of have to, or not obviously the same thing. And then there's and you can see this when you open the journal up, because there's the journal and then there's the contracts. But even in the journal, there's like multiple sections, different houses, different paths, different, you know, ability areas, different lore. There's like lore specific quests and things going on. And it's strange. I think what it is for me is the trials part is pretty tight. It's not 100% tight. There's a couple of bits where you know, you don't have to continue that next, or you need to do other things in between, and it's maybe not as obvious as it could be. But so, like, trying to come back to my point on it is, to me it felt a bit disjointed. Like there's so many things, and that's a good thing. There's lots and lots of content, and it's all pretty high quality all the way through. But to your point of like, where do I go next? What bit am I on right now? I often found myself a bit discombobulated, a bit like, I don't know, am I doing this bit? Is this progressing the main story? Because it will look like it, because they have a coloring system as well, where the side quests are like these blue contracts, blue gray, and the main ones are like this purple or whatever. But because there's multiple kind of like, in air quotes, main quests, it's a bit like, well, if I'm following this one, is this the one that's tracked right now? Or does this one lead back to this other story I was just doing something for? And I found myself kind of completing bits of this parallel story, which is partially deliberate by design from them, because they want you to go to different areas and explore different things in those areas. Are you going to the cult headquarters? Are you going to somebody's house? Are you going to a down ship? Are you going to a testing station? And the answer is typically yes. You're going to all four of those places for four other quests that are loosely bound together, in that you're in the same world, you're in the same timeline kind of thing. But you don't absolutely have to do each of them necessarily. So it's a bit... that's what I found a little bit confusing. And like I said, I think it's just because there's so many things. So sometimes it's almost like they need a third color or a third category, where it's like, okay, this is absolutely the core main quest. This is the through line. And then these other ones are like really big, important, cool things. But if you don't want to do them, you can stay on the through line. You know, but at least you'd know when you diverge, it'd be a bit more obvious of like, oh, I'm on a green one. So, well, I wanted to be doing purple. Okay. You know, that kind of thing. And yeah, I find that a little bit confusing with their system sometimes.
Yeah, so one thing that I've always missed in Dune, and it's still not there, is the ability to track more than one contract or journey. And sometimes it's a bit confusing, because I'll be tracking my journey, but then I'll also be tracking a contract that says the exact same thing. And I'm like, why would the contract not just be part of the journey? Why would I not just have that as my, like, have it be a sub quest or a quest line or whatever, you know? Just if these two are tied, why not just have that within the same? Because like there are many times where I've been doing something for one quest line, or a contract or whatever, and then at a later point I'm like, okay, what can I do now? Oh, track this. Oh, go to this testing station. Well, I was just through it. Why couldn't I just do this at the same time? And it's because it's not allowing me to track more than one thing, and it was kind of frustrating, because I was noticing that yesterday as I was going through a testing station that I know I've been through before for a different quest, not long before I took a 2-week break or something. But it was like, why? Just let me do multiple things. It's fine. The world is big enough. You have enough stuff to allow me to do things in an area at the same time. Don't force me to come back so many times and fly back and forth too many times. Like, it's...
Yeah.
They have some work to do there, but I'm still super impressed with the world. But we do have a comment from Moleytovs that made me think of something, and I do actually fully agree with, that we'll talk a bit later in community contribution. Actually, you know what? We'll take it up here. We're talking about Dune. Why not?
Mm.
And what Moleytovs says was something that I didn't really like. I kind of knew that's where my brain wanted to go, but until someone mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, quick observation to add to the Dune and variation discussion that we had last time. Another game that gave a limited roster of opponents and characters that you mentioned before, and also did good instancing, The Division. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yeah, oh that's true. Because in The Division, you are facing humans with guns. And some of the humans have melee weapons. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
However, in The Division, you have factions. You have the Rikers, who are prisoners who were at Rikers Island.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Cleaners, who were sanitation workers. And you have the Rioters, who are just random groups of people called Alex. It's a running meme, don't worry about it. And like you have very clear different tactics from these, even though they have the same basic units of people that will rush up to you. You have people that will stay at range with snipers and such, but they had all very distinct looking colors, distinct tactics, and they had their own way of doing things. So that, like for instance, the Cleaners, these sanitation workers, all of them were running around, or a lot of them were running around with pyro gear. Like they were throwing Molotovs, they were using flamethrowers, and they were scary. Like they were real scary. Kind of like the sandflies.
Right.
But for some strange reason, the Cleaners in The Division feel way more distinct from the other groups of same time frame people, because they had their own colors, they had their own areas, they had their own way of doing things. If you went into an instance where you were meeting the Cleaners, like you would see pockets of flames everywhere. They were using pyro to clean out everything. That's why they had the nickname. Like they were trying to get rid of this virus with burning everything. And then you have the Rikers and all of that. They have their own way of doing things. And it feels like, in that case, it felt good. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have an issue with their different tactics. Just because it was so different. And I think in Dune, like, we don't really have open world instant stuff. We have open world, and then we have some stuff that is instance, but it feels like there's no clear cut. You are now going into this instance. You are doing this mission in here. You are doing these things in here. It's just, you walk through a pentashield and that's it. It's smooth, and I'm super impressed by it. But it like there's no clear cut thing that, okay, you are now in here. You are doing these things. And kind of thinking about how The Division did things, I want more of that in Dune. And Molotov also then mentions, I'd also highlight the way in the early years Destiny 2 handled world events. On each planet, etc., every roughly 15 to 20 minutes, one of a selection of events would trigger with a few minutes' notice. The zone could hold up to 3 fire teams of any size, and the matchmaker would dynamically assign fire teams to the instance of the approach as they approach the area. obviously the game's architecture is different, but the ideas are out there which Funcom can use for examples. And I fully agree. If I went up to a masquerade area and they were like it was clearer that they were using more poisons, or they would like they would have their own distinct feel and not just snipers or people running up to you, because that seems to be pretty much what everyone does. It's and they would have their own kind of very clear, yes, I am Masquerade, and when I hit you, you will have this effect going on. It's like, I don't like this. Okay, I need to counter this somehow. I need to learn to work against it. Because in the Division, when you were up against cleaners, yeah, they had some weak points on the back for some of the people where you could blow out their napalm tanks. But you couldn't do that for others. So for others, you would need to destroy their armor first before you could start dealing with them. For instance, what were they called again? There was a paramilitary unit in the Division that was like they were actual military units, but they had more armor on them, and you need to destroy the armor before you could deal with them. And then you had the rioters who would rush up to you with a baseball bat and a trash can lid as their shield, but it would still be like they would feel easier. But if they got up to you and swarmed you, like they would be chaotic. Like it's just super chaos to fight. Bring me that into Dune, and I think I'd be more on board with this. There's no reason why only the Harkonnen feel so vastly different in this world. Everything has the same chome kind of vibe and feel to it no matter where you go. Like, you know, have different building pieces, have different ways of behavior. Everybody pops a shield and tries to stab you, or stays at range and shoots you. There's no difference between them.
I think they've got elements of it, but they're too few and far between. Or maybe also a point is, a lot of the stuff. I mean, some of it is also because there's so many hours of content that perhaps when we look back on it, we think of some of that repetition or whatever a bit more, or some of the more detailed and subtler stuff disappears a bit. At least for me, it feels like that. There are like different locations, even certain places that have different building pieces and that, but there's only like two or three types, and you're predominantly sent, you know, apart from very specific set pieces, you're mainly sent to repetitive ones like testing stations, or the kind of bunkerish buildings that are above them or around them. So it does surprise me in a way, because they obviously have an incredible like art department. They obviously, you know, they've done a really amazing job with this thing overall in terms of, you know, how immersive it feels and all the other stuff that we've waxed lyrical about already. But it's also strange to me that by the same token, they don't have this variety, both in the behaviors. That might be harder to program and all the rest of it, but even just the look of them, the type of weapons that they're wielding, that kind of thing, is all very repetitive. I mean, that said, there's probably like 5 or 6 different weapons in the game that they've, you know, balanced and whatever in their own way, and they are using those, plus some that you can't get access to as a player as well. So it's weird. It's like there is variety, but it's kind of like, well, you go to this one site and these 10 different people are all doing the same thing, and then you go to this other site and these 10 different people are doing something very similar. The deviations are too minimal. Like, one place will have flamethrowers and another won't, but that doesn't make it exciting and a big variety and all the rest of it. Just because there's one boss there with a, so because everyone goes, oh, we need to go and get these pieces, so we have to go to this location, and oh no, I hate that location because they've got like 4 or 5 flamethrower guys there. Yeah, that's not what you want it to become known for, necessarily. So yeah, I in particular the element that they clearly have the technical ability and the artistic ability to do things that are a lot more varied, but for whatever reason they just haven't. Now, it's going to be one of those like, well, the game's sort of still in its infancy if it wants to have like a 10-year lifespan, which there's no reason for it not to. That not to be the reality, because if you look at Conan as an example, what they've done with that, which is a lot more limited in terms of its technical set. I absolutely fully believe that this game is going to be, an absolute a titan or whatever. It's just, it already is huge, but it's only getting bigger. And the DLC in Chapter 2 showed that, because they just added these dynamic locations, even with multiplayer instances now. So new kind of, like, in air quotes, dungeons that are kind of multiplayer ready. So yeah, it's still confusing that for all the fun and how much content, like 400 hours or whatever of content that I've got out of it, it feels harsh in a way to be like, well, but they could have done this. This would have been so much better, because they already did such a phenomenal job. But I think it's another sign of, like, we enjoy it so much. Why not have it be even better? But I agree. I personally have felt this as well. It's like, why does this character? Why do they always do this? Surely there's a variation here or something. Like, I don't know, poison blades, or I don't know. I don't want to go into the detail of it because we'll get lost in that. But yeah, it's confusing to me in that I think they did such a good job with the game overall that they didn't say, as to your points, why isn't there just like 4 or 5 different house colors, building types, or posters all over them, or graffiti on one of them, or there's so many things that could have been, and the flip side is, well, you can go places like the cultist place with the big worm hanging and everything. They don't, like, some of the places very good set pieces. The Shield Harkonnen bases is another example. I think one of the things that hurts it a little bit is that you have to go in testing stations so often.
Yeah.
It makes sense from a story point of view, and that there's a few of them where you're like, oh wow, this is so different, this is great, but the majority of them feel like variation on the same theme, which sort of makes sense because they'd be built to a standard and they'd have the same architect and the chomut and all that. But it's like, yeah, it doesn't. There's something that's just slightly missing from them, where they feel a little bit soulless. Possibly because most of them are broken, run down, and that's part of the mystery. Yeah, I think that they did arguably a better job with the first kind of, you could almost say, third of the game, with like the trials and everything. Because you had those interspersed with all the other progression, plus you were going to these areas for the very first time, so the biomes felt, if you can call them that, felt a little bit different. Yeah, maybe it's one of those like, well, it's a big planet predominantly covered in sand and really hot. What can we do with that? But then when you go to some of the other biomes, like the one where the plants are and everything, and the agave and that, there is some variation, but I feel like it gets a little bit lost. It doesn't. It's weird because you want it to be a background subtle thing, but you want to feel that difference. And maybe after you've done like the first third of the story, or maybe the first half of the story, which is still 150 hours or more, it does feel a bit like samey, a bit repetitive.
I would love while in Haga Basin, I would love to be able to roam around on my sand bike more, or in my buggy more, without necessarily constant threat of being eaten, so that I could see these different biomes and places in like from a different angle. Because right now all I'm doing is pretty much hopping in my scout and going to the place, doing the testing station or getting the material, and then I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I, like, comparatively to other large world MMOs and similar, in Division's not an MMO. You have up to a group of 4 that you're roaming around in the city with, but you'd walk, like you'd walk to the place. You'd go through the streets. You'd run there. Like there's no motorbikes. There's no ATVs. There's nothing. But you'd walk there and you could see events happening. There would be open world events or random stuff going on, and then you'd engage with that on your way to the place. Or like you could fast travel to the entrance by all means, but then you're robbing yourself a part of the game. But in Dune, I don't feel like I don't feel like traveling to said testing station. It doesn't feel like it's part of the game. It doesn't draw me in to do this in a different way. I could do it, but then I'd just be annoyed and full of loot before I end up at the testing station. Which, again, is kind of like, well, it removes the point. But if I had more room to do this, because, like, it could be also partially where we are stationed with our guild home, by all means. Like, there's that whole huge sand traversal area that we need to go across every single time we want to go anywhere. And starting out or ending a journey with that is always a bit... So, yeah. I don't know. Like it feels like the entire area of Sheol is off limits to me without flying. I would love to jump in a buggy and go past there and roam around. Or I would love to zoom around and on sands with more like with quieter vehicles that are nippy and quick enough to, instead of doing the kind of jumping between different rocky outcrops the entire way. I think that's also partially why it feels so similar the entire way. Like there's when you're moving about, you're doing it in a very, either you're going straight line because you're flying, or you're island hopping, and you're always island hopping in the same way. There's no, oh, let's go this way today. Oh, let's go that way today. Like it doesn't feel like you can have that variety there, which is kind of insane when you look at how big the map is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it boils down, I think, for me to, a big part of it is immersion, and driving the vehicles in the game is way more immersive overall than flying. I think they did an amazing job with all the vehicle types, and the flying is so fantastic when you unlock it. It's just another revelation, similar to when you get the buggy, but different again, like even bigger order of magnitude. However, the Thopters, it's weird. They're great. I love them. I think they're fantastic the way they've implemented them. Nevertheless, the Thopters take you out of the immersion, because it becomes more about, okay, where's the crow fly? Where's the straight line to this other place that I'm going to? And you've become, typically, I found myself anyway from my playing, less likely to deviate and go and investigate other areas and stuff. Even though, ironically, I had the fastest way of getting there, I was just like, I might as well just go straight to the station or whatever my goal is or whatever. Whereas with the vehicles, you're like, oh, what's that over there? And you can do that bit of deviation with the caveat of don't get eaten on the way. I think that there's a certain element in my mind with the worm where I almost think it would have been better, or it would be interesting if the worm was, say there were like always 3 worms, just random number, and they roamed around sectors. They were just patrolling, or and that those sectors moved, like shifted about, maybe in like a slightly uneven pattern. Like they would shift at 25 minutes, they would shift at 43 minutes, again at 17 minutes, something like that, so that it never became super obvious of like, there won't be a worm here because there's been one like in the last 20 minutes kind of thing, because you want to avoid that really for immersion. And to make it more spicy. So I think it would be better. And then like once they'd breached, you were like, oh wow, so the worm's over there, and it's like, oh damn, it's down in Sheol, that's where I was going to go, or so I'll do this other mission for now. Or because either you wouldn't know where all 3 of them were because only 1 or 2 had surfaced recently, but also conversely, if you knew where they were, you'd be like, oh, they're up, in Masquerade territory. I need to go to Sheol and get some resources. I'm going to drive down to Sheol because there's no worm down there right now. It's over there in that sector. So I know that would take away the element of like constant threat of like, well, if you do drive over the town, you're going to draw. And I know there's like hundreds of worms, thousands, millions, whatever. But it almost would feel more immersive and kind of, I think, interesting, and give you more avenues to kind of drive, pun intended, if you could take a reasonable risk, because you knew, okay, it's roughly in that zone. It could be that the worm has like a huge radius around it, and if you go anywhere in that radius, and that radius shifted, every 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever, it would just be, I just think that would be a fun element. And it maybe could add an element of, well, those people that went out scouting and checked where the worm was, or used a thumper to draw them out, or, some sort of other machinery. It could be more interesting and add a different dynamic of working together with people and telling your guildies, hey, don't go to this sector right now, I've just seen the worm, kind of thing. So that it becomes more of a threat. There's something lurking in an area, but also allow you to like plan and be more tactical around how to continue playing. Yeah.
Imagine having to test an area first.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's been a worm sighting in the grid north of us. We need to test here. Is the worm active here? And then it would take like, you need to deploy these 3 mini thumpers or whatever, make the materials cheap.
Yeah.
And then
do like a seismic reading kind of thing. Yeah.
Do we
mention triangulating where the worm might be.
Like, and just going, is the worm here? And then having that be, okay, either you're in the clear and you've got somewhere, like you said, between 20 to 50 minutes, whatever, to actually work in that zone before it can then be a sudden and explosive worm spawn in that area, or like just the more active an area is, the more chance you have of drawing the worm zone to be over where you currently are.
Yeah.
But
so coincidentally, other players are on the server. 3 or 4 buggies went through this area recently. Maybe multiples of the worm get drawn to that area, and it becomes like Worm Central, and you just happen to be driving in there now for a mission or for a resource gathering trip, and you're like, oh no, to make it, I think what they're trying to go with is for it to be unpredictable. But ironically, the way it's kind of scripted to work at the moment, it's very predictable.
Yeah.
And it results in the response of our human behavior being, well, I'll just drive across this rock hopping route, or I'll just fly everywhere. And if you fly everywhere, as cool as the flyers are, you're not as immersed in the world anymore. So,
and then, of course, Spice Blows would either be, okay, we instantly know there's going to be a worm here because there's going to be activity. They're going to be chasing the spice, it's that sort of stuff. Or it's going to be, can I just, if I just carefully walk out here now and I compact a few times, will I be safe? Because it's it's one of those things. It would be lovely to be able to have that, and I think that would make the game more. It would make the game rotations more game-like. It wouldn't just be that constant threat that looms over, and you're like, I can't even get to that because there's always a worm about. No, you would have that. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go for it. Let's try it. And then you would still have the worm sign and everything, and be like, oh shoot, scatter, but then okay, it's in the area. Let's move on.
Yeah. I mean, they could do something where it's a pattern of like there's 3 worms at any point, and 2 of them you can trace down, and there's always one lurking somewhere, so that it's never predictable. And maybe the 3rd one always comes up with the short, fuse kind of thing. I don't know, like, not overthinking or trying to program it here on the podcast, but I think that there's ways and means of making it more engaging and more kind of satisfying when you survive, and more sort of intimidating when you're not sure, to make it like significantly less predictable. And I just think that would add to immersion, and it would encourage people to maybe, use their ground vehicles more. And because another thing, like passively in the background, is just how many people you're seeing. As well, the feeling of, is the server busy, and is this world alive or not? The other thing is, like, they had those small patrol groups with the bikes and everything that would just pop up every once in a while, and I think they're still there. That was kind of okay, but I feel like it's a bit like with the Sardaukar patrol thing. You don't want that everywhere, all over the place, but like in Conan, you go through areas, you go through the wilds, you'll have a hyena on your heels, or a panther jumping out of the trees at you, or whatever, if you're in the jungle. And I know we were talking about fauna the other day, but they really, that's an element that for me is slightly missing in the game. Is I know it's predominantly like a human story, and the lore and everything, that's kind of what it's all centered upon. But you need, for a game and for immersion, you need something else.
Yeah.
You don't want to go too far and have like death skeetos from Valheim and stuff like that, but you need something. Or it could be, what do you call it? Those little, I forgot, it's going to annoy me now, but like the death needle things that they send into Paul's room in the movie and stuff like that, like assassination, like little drones and stuff. There's things you could do to just mix it up a little bit if you wanted to stay with more technology, and maybe it could be a thinking machine threat. Like there's some drone system that's just gone rogue, and every once in a while a little swarm of these things will appear near you, and you'll have to either run away or engage them, that kind of thing.
I mean, we are in an alternate timeline after all, so so I just imagine that some of the gear that you use to detect the worm, that could have stuff that publishes to your guild that, okay, worm detected here. You'd have more active chats in world chat. You would have people being like, oh yeah, no, the worm's active up there, and then you go out and it's like, no, you tricked me, screw you, Harkonnen. It'd be that kind of stuff, and it would feel like a more attractive world to be in game wise. But yeah, I think I just want them to embrace the opportunity of being a bit more, introducing more variety. And hopefully it would also lead to the ability to bridge some gaps, which we've been doing in Roadcraft. Because Roadcraft came out with a DLC not long ago, which we jumped into, and that has been fun, and it has introduced one of my favorite vehicles ever, and it's the treaded and armored well, I'm not sure about the armored part. Bridge layer. It also has introduced a wheeled one, which has a bit of a shorter bridge. But being a former combat engineer, I recognize these vehicles and they are amazing. And I love how Roadcraft introduced like the map that we're currently on in your save has limited your ability to build bridges. And I think that was really cool. Because suddenly you're like, okay, how do we solve this? And then it ends up being, okay, you put down a bridge, but what then? You can buy a new bridge and put down that. Cool. And it just led to new challenges and a new way of thinking of exploring and such. And it was really cool. And I have to give them kudos, because that's the ability to create variety in such a limited game. That's impressive. Because let's be fair, Roadcraft isn't exactly the universe that will allow you the most wide variety of type of gameplay, is it? But no, I've really, really, really enjoyed the new DLC from Roadcraft, or like I've just enjoyed Roadcraft in general. Like new vehicles, new places, new missions. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a very solid game. It kind of knows what it's about, and it just does that really well.
Yeah.
And what I'm super impressed with Roadcraft is just how many hours of fun you get out of it. Even if you're mainly focusing on the quests and everything. Like, I've got 126 hours in it now. I've still got probably about 5 maps and a half still to go or something. And a lot of that we've been doing teamwork with like 3 other players in most of the sessions. And even if I've been side questing myself, because I know that'll be another comment, not everyone has, and yet we still are only that far through. I think that's quite impressive, because it was one of my concerns when I first looked at it. I was like, this is really fun, but it's only a few maps, so I don't want that fun to end so quickly. 126 hours later, okay, this is great. They already added 2 additional maps, and I still have like 4 to finish on the main quest, I think, or 3. And not least now replaying them with additional vehicles available and the kind of fun that can bring. So yeah, I'm just very, very impressed with what they did. I think it's a great game. I know there's still people who are a little bit miffed at it not being SnowRunner 2 or something like that, and they've added a whole bunch of complexity and fuel and gearboxes and stuff like that, which I probably wasn't their plan, but they had it in their back pocket at least, because they probably predicted some of the backlash. And to their credit, they've added it in fairly quickly. So yeah, just keep enjoying Roadcraft. It's another one of those where that game is super chilled. I would say we keep pushing the limit, because we play multiplayer and we go like 6 hours or something without restarting the game. And like every time I'm kicking myself, because I'm like, okay, get to about 4 hours and then it's time to just restart the game, just to avoid any desync or whatever. But even that has gotten better and better.
Much better.
It's way better than it was in the opening weeks. So yeah, we've been playing that one pretty consistently since May when it dropped. And it's almost October. So yeah.
Now, Roadcraft is one of those where, like, I knew I'd enjoy it, but like you said, I was a bit, okay, so how much content can I actually get out of it? How much enjoyment can I actually get out of it? Like, how long will this keep me interested? And it's something about the game cycle, like where you have the exploration, you have the figuring out of the mission, and then you have the, okay, now you solve this. How do you want to solve this? Do you want to pave paradise by putting down all the sand and then flattening it and then putting tarmac over it, or do you want to solve this in a different way, in a more minimal way, or such? Like just have at it, and they've kept that, and I know I have plenty of hours left in it, so that's gonna be great. And it's one of those that I think it can catch people by surprise with how much game time there actually is in it. Because on the surface, it doesn't look that deep, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, okay, I can understand this, and it feels nice. It does. Another game that will catch people by surprise in its subtle nature, but also wealth of content, is West of Loathing. Not long after the recent update to Roadcraft, I was gonna jump in, play a bit solo, and just enjoy and have fun. But the game was stuttering way too much for me. It was not playable. They have since addressed that. But on that day, I decided to play West of Loathing. West of Loathing was a gifted game to me by Tiltedhead, and I don't know how to describe this game. Tilted has a little victory that he has tied to this, saying we're skipping the community contributions this episode, by the way, because we're already done them. Tilted says, watching Tiger play West of Loathing and reacting just the way I'd hoped, I've relived my own experience playing the game for the first time. I immensely enjoyed that you enjoy it. Can the VOD get transferred to YouTube so it doesn't disappear? Yes. Yeah, I'm already working on that. However, now that I've played this, I can completely understand people who say, if there ever is a game that you could go back and play for the first time, what would it be? And they say West of Loathing. Because it has an abundance of humor. It has lovely gameplay mechanics that will catch you off guard, but also be so nice. It has roleplay elements. It incorporates so many things in such an unexpected way. And if you enjoy point and click adventure and humor and such, the West of Loathing is definitely going to be a way to go. To kind of give an idea of some of the humor in this, it has a colorblind mode. This is a game that's entirely in black and white. But it has a colorblind mode.
Checks out.
And they have so many kind of tiny hidden secrets and things that will make you giggle. And well worth exploring and clicking on things and doing stuff. It's fabulous. And in my first episode of it, I played as Stats Cassidy, the Cow Puncher. Cow Puncher. Okay. Cow Puncher is one of the classes in the game.
Okay. Still not less worried.
Exactly. But it makes sense if you play the game.
Okay.
No, it's such a great game. I can't recommend it enough.
Awesome.
So yeah, there you go. West of Loathing. Surprising depth. Over to our next surprising depth, or maybe not so surprising depth. Dave the Diver where I've recently started doing my my recordings for YouTube. I have not released a single episode yet, but I've started recording. This was a game where I first saw you play it. I was like, oh god, oh no, this is gonna screw with my thalassophobia. And then I saw Mari play it, and I was like, maybe I can play this. And now I'm playing it myself, and I'm like, yeah, this is fine. It's weird, but I love this little game. I'm having so much fun punching fish, to quote someone familiar to the podcast, and just solving quests and going out adventuring, but also just, grabbing all the kelp and tiny pieces of loot everywhere. And all the little animations when you upgrade a dish and Boncho, and like there's so many fun elements to this game. I'm pretty sure that it's one of the more comfortable pacings of a game I've ever encountered. Because I know there's a lot to do, but it doesn't feel like it throws all of it at you at the same time. It gives you room and time to breathe and kind of working your way into how the different things work, and it introduces it in a comfortable pace, and it's just very, very nice. So yeah. Now, Dave the Diver, I'm loving it, and I'm very much looking forward to the next installment of Dave the Diver, Dave in the Jungle.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
So
yeah, they definitely did do a good job boxing up the various missions. Like you go out on a quest and you're kind of doing the main thing. You might have other things you want to do, but that's on you. But overall, you're like, this is the next thing, the next objective, the next target, or whatever. Yeah, from what I remember playing it. That's good. I'm glad you're getting a lot of fun out of it.
The only gripe I have with it is that sometimes it throws a story element at you without the ability to say, "Oh shoot, no, I don't want to do this now." It's just you now have to watch this segment or play this or such. There's no. It doesn't feel like it gives you that checkpoint to kind of go, do you want to go on now or do you want to do this later? Which I can, to some degree, understand, but to some of us who really enjoy just grinding out ingredients and such for sushi and so on, sometimes you just want to be able to just do that for a few days. Just like, no story, just do the thing. That's all.
Yeah, it kind of matches my experience with it as well. Yeah, I wanted to have those quieter sessions, and it was like, I got to keep pushing forward, and it's like, no, I don't really want to push forward right now. So, yeah.
But it is a glorious game, and it's what, 2 years old now? I think.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's wonderful, lovely animations, everything. I just absolutely love that game. And another game that I think you will enjoy is one that I've had the joy of playtesting a tiny bit. That has been put into the world now. Is called The Lift. Are you familiar with it?
No, I think you mentioned it briefly. The one with the handyman thing, right?
Yes. A handyman in like you're originally in like you get frozen down in a cryopod, and you're in an area like a very limited area, but the entire game is all about just fixing up this station, this place, and it has story. But as far as I've understood, none of it is like you won't have to face combat. You don't face scary elements or anything. It's just you're just walking around. You're fixing things, bringing back the station to life, and one bit at a time. And I played the playtest enough to get to a certain point where I was like, okay, all right, okay, so they're throwing a bit more at me, but the puzzles and everything, very nice. And the aesthetic of it, incredibly cool. So, yeah, The Lift. I can fully recommend having a look at this game if you haven't already. And like part of the reason why I think this will really gel well with a lot of people is because of the aesthetic and how they've designed some of the puzzles, you know. And I think you're one of those people that will enjoy the humor and a bit of the kind of the gameplay elements of it.
I mean, the art style reminds me very loosely of BioShock. Maybe just the color palette.
Yeah, it has a bit of that kind of color palette to it, but it's also
without the imminent death around every corner feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just a guy doing your job, you know? That's all. Like you're not out there to create all the things of a space elevator or such. No, you're just there to fix. You're just there to fix. That's all. Right? You replace a light bulb, you replace a fuse, you solve a few puzzles here and there. Just amazing. Wonderful. And that's how simple it is. Yeah. And that has been our recently played games. If you've played any of these and you want us to talk more about other games you've played, give us games. No, for legal reasons, that's a joke. But please tell us about games you've played recently, and if there's anything you'd want to see, because then we might put it as some of our games on the horizon. I don't know why I did that accent. I have no idea. And our current game on the horizon is one that I've seen stats play, and there's a bit of the press coming out now soon. Whiskerwood.
Yeah. I've not had a chance to play it yet, but it was one that piqued my interest, and got an email about it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll put a pin in that and come back to it. And then Stats played it. And so I got the obligatory 6 a.m. email or DM the next day. I've been like kind of in brackets without saying it. I've been up all night playing this and shouldn't have been. Close brackets. But yeah, he said like Timberborn meets Anal. And yeah, I've looked a little bit at the video and trailer and everything. I've installed it yesterday, but haven't had a chance to fire it up yet. But we're probably going to try and have a look at this during the week. And yeah, the sort of description: establish a home for your industrious mice under the oppressive paw of your cat overlords in this city builder featuring complex simulations, intricate production chains, and the age-old rivalry between cat and mouse. So yeah, sounds really good. Published through Hooded Horse. Minakata Dynamics is the developer. I don't know them, but just looking at it, the graphics and everything, it's got like that cute factor, but it looks like a little bit more of a classic city builder maybe than Timberborn is. But yeah, I look forward to trying this one out and try and fit it into the schedule. If not this week, then maybe next with the new schedule coming up. But yeah, I definitely like the look of it and the kind of idea. At the moment, it's kind of more in demo and preview stage. So yeah, well, at least I think so. What did I just read there about a date 19th? 19th of September was the release date. Oh, okay. So maybe I can switch from the demo version to the full version now.
Could be.
Because they gave us one of those beta codes to plug into. But there is actually a demo available. So if you want to play it, they can grab the demo.
There you go.
Yep.
Whiskerwood. It's
Mm-hmm.
it certainly looked very like the aesthetics of it was very nice when I saw a bit of stats playing it,
Mm-hmm.
and if it has those more classic city building elements like Anno, like that could tickle my fancy. Definitely could.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it. You know what I also like?
What's that?
Content creation.
Okay.
And the world of content creation is exciting. Although it could also be, like we've mentioned before, it's one of the it's one of the harder things that I think I've ever done as a job. Because of how much energy I throw into it, and I think any other content creator will agree to that. And the other day, I sat down to do some work. And the work that I kind of settled on doing was for some of the greetings that I'd do through the bot. You know, some of the code that simply is doing one of the smaller gestures on my channel, and kind of showed that off as I was working, just to kind of give people a tiny bit of an insight of what goes on continuously. And it got me to think of just how, like, there's very few things in content creation that is set and forget. You will always have to work on emotes, on bot functions, new things to keep people kind of into the stream, so that they want to interact with you. They want to interact with others. And I think that goes for about, I'd say, 99% of content creators out there. Because if you're part of that content creation where you are allowed to just have that one scene or that one way of doing things and just keep on working, oh my god, I am so envious. But at the same time, it couldn't be me. So yeah, the continuous work and like, what's your experience with the continuous kind of upkeep and admin work? And I don't necessarily mean for posting things to TikTok or YouTube or whatever, but like the other things that aren't as obvious to the outside.
So I echo your sentiments. However, I have like a comma, but I definitely see that, and I definitely have at times made more changes, and I see some value, but in my mind, it has diminished considerably because I found myself becoming a little bit kind of on the one hand a bit obsessed by it. I like wanting to constantly tinker and add and do things, and on the other hand, if I felt I didn't have the energy or the inspiration for something, I became a little bit stressed by it. The fact that I would over worry and over exaggerate in my mind how important those things are. And I think it's very much I don't know, there's a degree of personality and personal interests. What I've decided to do is much less of that kind of tinkering. Like I still do some maintenance stuff. The biggest thing we've added recently was the thing you provided for me, which was the fishing, which is kind of fun because we're always doing like little fishing things in games and stuff like that. So it kind of was a good fit. But like the most obvious example for me is channel points, and the bot stuff, because really what happens is I tie myself up in knots and kind of confuse or overcomplicate my setup and things that are going on. I'm always running like 3 bots anyway, plus a night bot, and it's just I've come to the realization for me personally that whilst there is an element of like this sort of flashy, draw people in, and that might be a good thing, I personally don't enjoy it that much. So where it might be a mistake or it might be something I change in the future, but I've gone down a path like for this year and going forward for the time being where I'm going to kind of do less of that, because I feel like that's not the main attraction, and that's not to say it doesn't help or hurt, rather, to have those things. It's a bit like having a carnival, or a fair. You wouldn't just have the Ferris wheel and that's it. You need all the other you need everything. You need like a more rounded kind of offering. Makes sense. But for me personally, because I'm not so inclined to tinker and do those kinds of things, or probably reminds me too much of my previous working life too much in some ways. Not that I wasn't a programmer, but I was just around those things all the time. And because then they break and I stress about them not working one day and that kind of thing. I've personally going on this path of like more of a less is more. I want less things going on so that there's more coming across of what I'm actually doing and what I'm sort of talking about or showcasing, or the truck that I've just flipped over and stuff like that. I see an element of that being like, well, and I'm missing out because I don't have the thing like lots of people have, like these Tangier bots and all those kinds of things for all the bits. And we used to do all my own sound bites and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's fine. But I'm not other people. That's what other people are getting something out of. And I was kind of almost stressing myself trying to do all those other things and keep up with all those, fancy flashy things or whatever. So we were talking about it in our meeting with the mods recently about the new schedule coming up and about some of the things that maybe we could do less of or more of, and what do we miss, what do we want to see, and there's a few little things where you had some buttons to press, docs popping up on the screen and stuff like that when moments happen. And so I'm trying to lean back into those at certain times, especially playing warships and similar kind of games like that, where it kind of makes more comedic sense. But otherwise, I'm just as happy not pressing like 15 million different buttons, because it doesn't feel like that's part of my art form or what I want to produce, what I'm trying to express, if that makes sense.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm meaning when I say continuous work and bringing new things in, because it's not necessarily about just working on code or such. It's also about thinking about how you present things. Like, this is what I mean. You said you want to think less about everything else going on, but more about how you present things. That's part of that continuous work. It's part of how you present the entirety of the channel. Be that through emotes, through functions, or not having functions, or bringing back things you used to do, and like these things. It's all part of that continuous work that is almost invisible to people. Like, we may share some of it from time to time, but it's stuff that goes on in the background where there will always be a thought to it. There will always be something that you're doing to make the stream be yours and what you feel is fitting. And for a lot of people, yeah, they'll tend to go for the Tangia bot and so on, but there's so much more that goes on in the everyday thought of things. Like schedule change. This is a big one. If a streamer sits down and sees the need for a schedule change, it's not just going to be a snap of the finger and then you're done. No, because if you care a bit about how you present things, where your audience is and so on, it's gonna take thought. It's gonna take consideration about where do I want to show up? How do I want to do things? Why am I doing it? It's because of, be that mental health or physical health or just finding new audience, whatever reasons it is. There's a continuous thought and work to it. Like, it's not just clicking start stream, doing the thing, click stop stream. Like, there's always something going on, and I think to a lot of people, they will immediately think of all the stuff that actually shows on screen, be that overlays or whatnot. No, there's so much more in the background. It's also about finding those games or the content itself that you want to show off and prepare. Making sure that what you actually jump into is something that fits your style of doing things.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's multiple layers of this. One element is, which I think is quite a fundamental one, is that you're essentially self-employed. You're running a small business. And I think that some elements of the community understand that and see it that way, and some don't. Some see it as just, well, you're just sitting down playing a video game on the internet. So you're just gaming, so you're just having fun. And I guess that's a little bit of what you're alluding to, that they don't necessarily, what isn't obvious is what's going on in the background, be it like maintenance, being it maintaining your software and hardware, adjusting your audio, whatever it is, that's maybe I didn't understand before, but like excluding things like making additional content or, doing other videos, looking for other products to work on and doing that kind of research and whatnot. Yeah, it's all part of it. And it's basically, you're just running a business. So it always makes me kind of smirk a little bit when, and not to throw Doc under a bus, it makes me laugh a little bit because he goes, "Oh, I can't play any games with you today because I'm working." And I'm like, well, I'm working. So, okay, I'm not sitting in a bus for 12 hours or something. So there's degrees of things, but I'm also, what I am doing is spending, 18 hours or however many hours I'm awake each day, constantly thinking about developing, adjusting, maintaining, and so forth, to the point that you're alluding to. So it's not, none of this is a competition, but it's funny that there's still not, even for someone else that streams like that and we hang out with all the time, there's still like a subconscious separation between being a full-time content creator and that being self-employed, being at your small business that you're trying to survive with, and any other kind of job that people still think of as a job. And partly that's because even though it's the last 10 to 15 years or so, that's a young amount of time, a young lifetime in the overall, hundreds of years and thousands of years respectively, that there's been different, if somebody says they're a carpenter, all right, that's goes back thousands of years. And if somebody says they're a streamer, that can only go back, about 10 to 12 years or whatever. So it's just, something in the overall psychological understanding in society and everything that's becoming more accepted and understood, but I don't think I don't think there's that full recognition there. But for the individual, as you said, there's a lot to both maintain as well as create and keep going forward and finding inspiration, motivation, and all those kinds of things. It can be challenging, especially because you're often not necessarily redlining, but you're definitely putting in way more. Like the live stream itself is probably, you know, a third to maximum a half if you're having a high energy one of your expenditure in terms of energy and time on being a creator. It's definitely on the lower end, and it's, as you said, it's mostly invisible. Yeah.
When was the last time you thought of a game as just a game and not potential content?
I don't really do that. The only game that I play as a game that doesn't turn into some other kind of content is I might throw up my my World of Warships and just go and smash some ships about, because I can do that with my brain switched off. Or in fact, I can be thinking about or learning a tutorial of something in parallel where I don't have to use a lot of brain power on ships, so I can just do other things in parallel. It's more or less the only thing that I do that with, because I don't really feel distracted or drawn into it as such, because I'm just so used to it. I've done it for so long, and I know it inside and out. So that's a little distraction, as it were. Everything else that I do, like the Space Engineers, is I'm either recording something or I'm doing some busy work to make the next recording session possible or whatever, or correcting a mistake somewhere, or I'm practicing or learning or producing additional videos and editing, or learning about how to improve sound quality and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot lately. Or I'm thinking about the next project and, you know, what else can I possibly do in parallel to make sure I have maximum burnout potential. So yeah, obviously I'm tongue in cheek there, but I also have to keep myself busy to that degree, because if I stop, then I go in to the wrong places in my thoughts, and I go into not necessarily like fully depressive and that kind of direction, although that's a higher tendency for me, but I will go into more of a like self-doubting frame of mind, where I'll be like, this isn't even worth it, or this is rubbish, or this is not working the way I want it to. So if I counter that by continually like chipping at it and working at it, and then the other thing I do is I don't play a game. I get completely off the computer and I go away, and I'll read a book or listen to something, or I'll put some music on, or I'll put some TV show on that I don't really have to worry too much about, and just shut off, like almost go into meditative kind of state. Although one of the things I want to do when my schedule does change, which is a huge, it's like a business saying, well, we're not open 9 till 5 anymore, we're open 2 till 7 or whatever, which is essentially kind of what I'm doing. That is quite harrowing. It's like, well, you don't want to leave people behind. You know that some customers might not be able to make it into the shop anymore, and so on and so forth. So, hopefully, because I'm not running a bakery, it won't be like, well, people are starving. They'll be able to just grab, what was left on the shelf from yesterday in the VODs and things like that, and it won't be as painful. But there will be, some churn as a result of it. And, it's just something that I feel I have to do for my health, physical and mental. And I think that will allow me to run my business and do all the other maintenance and additional creative elements whilst getting into a healthier state physically and mentally, which kind of go hand in hand anyway. So yeah, it's very challenging, but it's also, it's one of those where I think it's good and healthy to talk about and be open about, without falling into the trap of being too obsessed by it.
So speaking as someone who used to do 10 to 11 hours of streaming per day with 2 stints per day, Monday through Sunday, yeah, it takes a toll. And that change can be brutal, but it's also so needed at some point, rather than actually hitting that wall. But here's a different variation to the question I just asked you. And it might not apply to you because you're not necessarily a typical gamer, but when was the last time you thought to yourself, I wish I could just play a game for it being a game and not have to think of it as, how does this fit as content?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really see it like that. It just doesn't fit into my sort of pattern or way of thinking about them anymore.
No. But here's the thing. For me, like I was an avid gamer before I became a streamer and content creator.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought of, like, I just want to play a game for playing a game, I not think of it as content creation or such. Like that thought is often there for me. But it took me so long of being like being full-time for as long as I was, and then making that change and finding those, like you say, that disconnect, like properly walking away or doing something different. Like games used to be that relaxation for me after work. It used to be that moment of, now I'm done with being project manager or whatnot. Now I want to game. I just want to relax. I want to disconnect from that other part of the world. Suddenly you go from gaming, and how do you disconnect? Like how does that happen? And it was such a weird change. And it also kind of lends itself to that continuous work thought. Like, what and how do you separate these worlds so that it doesn't become all encompassing? Like that's also part of that work, which is so it's big. It's so big, and it is because, like you've said, you're running you're running your own business, and everything will affect that. But it's so hard to describe to someone who isn't part of that sphere and that understanding too. That's what's so difficult about it. So, but yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think the easiest way to explain it is just, typically, it's like if you're a game developer and you're making a game all day, you probably don't go home and play a game because you want a difference. You want something different because you need to activate different parts of your brain and whatever. And I kind of liken it to that. It's like if I have just, played a game. I mean, I also think it's potentially, I think there's a healthy element to gaming and then there's an unhealthy element. And I think that part of it leans more into unhealthy, and why I'm looking for things that are more meditative and away from the computer and away from all screens as far as possible as well. Like, don't have a phone on, don't have a TikTok to swipe through. And this is what, there's certain things where I have like a strict, like I don't do the TikToks and the shorts and things like that, because it isn't actually separate. I'd have to convince myself that it's separate and nothing to do with creation, or it's not going to trigger additional thoughts and ideas like that have to be acted on immediately. So I would see it almost as continuing that work pattern rather. So, I'd rather do something else, like go and stand up and stare out the window for 10 minutes, than get off the computer away from my work, in air quotes, to then pick up a phone and swipe a video or something for 10 minutes. So, it's something I recognize, and I genuinely question for myself whether to some degree gaming has it actually been a good, healthy like hobby at times, or has it been is it more that I didn't recognize or act upon a necessity to do something else, which the video game might have given me the initial draw and and sort of triggers to almost fool me into thinking I was doing something good for myself or relaxing and whatnot. But I think there's a healthy amount, and that's a very individual, very personal thing for everybody. But I wouldn't necessarily go back and equate to how much, or like, I don't know what the right amount of doing some gaming would be for me vis-a-vis relaxing and getting away from the content creation and what I do for a living. If that makes sense. So like maybe it's like, well, I could play ships, but I should play like 3 games, or maybe 5 if I feel like I've got loads of time and energy left over, and then I should log off and I should get away from the computer. Because if I sit down and have like a gaming session and do like 2-3 hours, I mean, I personally feel like now, maybe as I'm getting a bit older as well, that is counterproductive, that's taking away from my energy and my creativity. I guess it's a bit like a musician. If you put yourself like in the studio, you might want to lock yourself away for a week, but at some point you've got to stop and you've got to step away. And maybe it's walking down through the forest for 10 minutes or whatever that gives you that idea to help you finish that particular riff or groove that you need, and it's not going to be another 12 hours locked in the studio. Kind of thing. So I'm looking at a lot of musicians and creative people and artists and stuff, trying to think about what did they do, and like what do I feel, what's my instincts telling me about what's good and what's a good balance. And I've struggled tremendously in my whole life with being a workaholic, and I don't think that's necessarily changed with this, but I'm gaining a different insight and understanding of an awareness and sharpening my awareness of what's a good amount and makes sense, and where I should draw a line, and just being aware of, okay, that's good. Let's make a cut there. For example, I've been filming some new content for Flawless, and I did a little bit yesterday. And then I recognized, okay, I'm a little bit tired. I'm kind of pushing the boundaries here, and I can feel some of the ideas like waning and falling away a little bit. And sometimes a good way of doing that for content creation, I'm practicing and learning different methods. One of them has been like to do things in much smaller chunks, like quick little recordings that are maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes max. And then I can look back at a bit, skip a little bit here and there, and be like, oh, okay, right, I've captured this thought. I've got this moment, this scene that I wanted to kind of depict, and then okay, and I feel good, let's do another 2 or 3 of those, and then like, oh hey presto, I've got like an hour's worth of footage that I can cut a 30-minute episode from or whatever easily. And then yesterday I recognized it wasn't that late in the day, and I been a pretty good all-round day, but I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to sit here at the computer working further. I'm gonna just go to tomorrow and see what happens. And then this morning, normally I'm like up at 6 o'clock or whatever and starting the day and working through things. And this morning I just was like, no, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired. It was very cold yesterday. I used up extra energy or whatever. I'm just going to rest a little bit longer, and then just have some music on in the background or whatever, and try not to have too much screen time and things. And then just see what the rest of the day offers. So it's, I don't know, there isn't like a magic answer, but like with a lot of things in life, you got to experiment a little bit and try to be very keenly like self-aware of where your levels are, how you're feeling about something, and then look back at what you've produced, what you've been doing. And like maybe in the context of gaming, did I have fun? Have I come away from that feeling better, more relaxed, more energetic? Do I have new ideas? or do I feel more drained and irritated by it, or things didn't go the way I wanted to, and that kind of thing, and I need to step away. And then I try to recollect, okay, what was I doing, and what was the result of that in terms of how I felt and where my energy was. And also maybe if it was a creative thing I was doing, am I happy with what I created, or do I want to just throw it in the bin and start again, kind of thing.
And then one last part of content creation that kind of leads into this part of it where I've recently, like, I started doing my Assassin's Creed Origins, and had fun. Like, it was a fabulous game to play, plenty of things to do, plenty of places to explore. But recently I've been having some technical issues while trying to record, where the game itself stutters for about 1 second every 10 to 15 seconds. And that means, like, I can't stream it, because for a while I was just doing private streams to YouTube and using that as a VOD. But that means, like, with those stutters, like, it's not the stream that goes out, it's on the PC, and it just, like, I can't even local record. And that defeat, that utter defeat of wanting to do something, wanting to finish something, wanting to go on and explore something, but it's just not working for you. And this defeat can come in many ways. Like, it can be technical through, this is not just simply working, but there are other ways. Like, you can see this game that you really enjoy and want to go through, but then there are elements of it, like the core gameplay just doesn't gel with you, but you know that there's this huge story to tell, but because of the core gameplay doesn't work for you, it's that defeat. And I'm struggling to find good equivalents in other jobs. Like, how does that translate to another job? Like, how do I explain this? Because this is a like, often it's tied to the game itself or your PC or whatnot, and so other gamers might understand parts of it where, oh yeah, I want to play this game, but I can't. And you install it, you try it, but it's just not running well. Like, how do we deal with that defeat? Because I'm at that point where the Origins letdown, where now leads me down a path of troubleshooting and figuring out how do I get this to work again? How do I get this to flow well so that I can go on with the journey? Like, will that take too long? Like, will I just completely forget everything about where I've been? Do I need to start over? Or do I just terminate it there? And have this feeling of something that is unfulfilled. It's not done. Like, it's not come to its full finale. Like, and it's such a strange thing to try to both address to myself but also to others. Like, how do we deal with that defeat? Any insight, you can direct to Grumbles says at grumbles.com. Don't send any emails there. That's, for legal reasons, that's a fake address.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is like there's some loose correlation with what I've been going through in terms of, like, where's the inspiration, motivation, energy, and end results, and looking at kind of what works and what I feel happy with or not at the end of it. What I have found is, and I'm sure there are, maybe I'm sure our listeners will probably have some good ideas or comments on it, but I I've grown to understand that there's the running your own business element of it, and then there's the what type of business is it? And for me, I liken it to it's more of an art form than a business. So I think that's part of the problem. There's the business part, and then there's the what is it? And your it's kind of I liken what we do to being an artist, and the reality is that is more often than not an occupation of frustration and confusion and and struggles, a life of struggles, as it were. So there's certainly a lot of parallels, I think, more than than are not. So yeah, I don't think I haven't been able to find any answers from my like 25 years of working in a a more traditional job. And I've done many different tasks and jobs within the sort of different size companies that I worked within, and also done a small stint like being self-employed doing like house renovation stuff, and done little side jobs like driving and deliveries and things like that too. So it's I don't what I where I see the parallels is with being an artist, and the hard reality is you're kind of on your own with it in a way. There's various things you can do and support and things that can help, like looking at how others have coped with things, but really it's it's kind of a nightmare scenario in that you're well, what I find is I'm rarely I'm satisfied with some of the results of what I do, but I'm always looking at it as cool. Now what do I make? What can I, where does this lead me? What do I want to do next? And there's a bit of a horse and cart type thing of, well, if I know the end result that I want, and then I have the struggle of how to get there and whether it looks like the thing I had in mind in the end after the endeavor or not. And then sometimes you get into like this kind of flow of like, okay, I know approximately where I'm going, but I don't have it all fully mapped out, because that allows me the room and the freedom that I need to maneuver. And that can be, that style where you go more with flow can be more rewarding and satisfying with the product itself and the experience of going through that. But it doesn't always marry up with what you needed to do from a business point of view. You might end up with something that you like, but it's a piece of art, and so maybe no one else will like it, or they won't get it, or whatever. I've kind of come to terms with that's how it is. That's the reality of what I'm doing. And then the next challenging question is, perpetual question is, do you want to keep going? Do you know, or do you want to do something else? Because I don't see, I'm very much all or nothing. So I'm either going to do that. And of late, I've been feeling very confident, and I'm very excited to get into this new schedule, because I can see, I envisage a path that I'm following that's going to be more rewarding and more aligned with, you know, being healthier whilst also pursuing this, you know, whatever it is, going into this very foggy kind of artistic, and whatever comes out of it comes out of it. But I've decided that I want to commit to that, and that's what I'm doing. This is what I'm creating, so I'm going to do that. And then if it works out and fits in with all the other stuff, cool. But if it doesn't, it's still cool, because at least I did the thing I wanted to do. But I think that's also a conscious decision you have to make. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah. It's a strange job. But like you say, it's tied to art, but it's also unique in its way of how you need to approach things. Like there are so many elements to it. Let us know in the comments. How do you think you would deal with trying to be full-time content creation or streamer? Would you be able to do it? Would you be surprised at the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes that needs to be done? Or would you be like, nah, I've never done this before. This will probably be fine. And I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. While you guys type that out, let's hear a bit about Know Your Role. Every single time that little at the end, like every single time, it catches me off guard, but it's just it needs to be there. I don't know why. It needs to be there. Anyway, we're going to talk a bit about like very quickly about a system called ShadowDark, which is a D20 system that I got to test out together with Just Chegg, Jimbo, Mari, and Clyde plays live as the DM, which is a very, very old school type game meant to keep you on your toes and work on things that adds a fun twist. Are you familiar with Darkest Dungeon, Grumbles?
Yeah, I know it. I haven't played it, but I know of it, yeah.
So in Darkest Dungeon, you have a mechanic that has to deal with torches. So that you need to have light with you, you need to have torches with you, and once you light the torch, it has a finite amount of light to it, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just forever sit there and do things. And if the torch goes out, things start happening. Things go bump in the night. Mm-hmm. ShadowDark has a similar system where all dungeons and stuff that you go into will be complete and utter pitch black darkness. And the DM or the storyteller will have a timer on each of the torches where they last for 1 hour. So there's a tight action mechanic to things, and if you like, unlike normal D&D, where if players sit down and talk about things, talk about how they want to puzzle solve or whatever, time usually stops, you know? Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen in ShadowDark. So if you're not kind of being conscious of the torch and keeping an eye on it and thinking about it, you will have a moment of, oh, it's suddenly dark. Here's a twist. None of the player characters will have what we know as dark vision, but all monsters will. So you need the light in order to do anything. You can probably feel your way around a dungeon and whatnot, but it'll end badly for you. And we're also talking a system where like there is a high likelihood of characters perishing. Very high likelihood. I had a goblin wizard who I had 3 HP. 3 HP. I got hit for 2. That hurt. And yeah, it's absolutely brutal system, but it has very old school mechanics and a lot of fun. So if you like a mechanically inclined system where exploration and mechanics will be rewarded, all depending on how your DM plays things, but you also need to push yourself a bit. I recommend looking into ShadowDark. It's very, very, very fun, and as soon as the little playtest of it comes out, I will share that link with people. It'll be on Clyde Plays Live's YouTube channel where he does roleplay stuff and tabletop stuff like that. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. But it was absolutely fabulous. But it's I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it's something that will frustrate people if they aren't like if you aren't in a position to ask for either a break in the torch timer or whatnot, or you have you aren't conscious enough of the torch. Like it might frustrate, but it's also fun to try to get into that headspace and understanding it a bit, so that you like it might turn out to lead to a rushed decision at some point. Who knows? Who knows? But that could also be fun. And I don't know. Do we have anything else in Know Your Role? I don't think we do.
No, I think I'm also looking a bit at the time for the length of the cast, so I think we should push on. See if there are any other community contributions.
No, there aren't. That's empty. Cool. So thank you to our patrons and other members for putting in your questions and thoughts and so on. Do that on YouTube. You can do it on Spotify too now. Actually, you could have done that a long time, but we actually have a way of monitoring that. You can do it on Patreon. You can do it in our DMs, but please do that on our Discords. Each of us have channels where you can post your comments, your thoughts, your little victories, whatever it is. Please post them there. And thank you to Maringana, FionnMacCorvus, MrRoboto, Tiltedhead, LimaZuluTango, and Introvert for being our patrons and posting and pledging $2 or equivalent per month to help out this podcast. Thank you so much for that. And very quickly on to something to smile about. Because knowing that people give us money makes me smile. That sounded weird. I'm sorry. Like
make it weird, Tiger.
Like it does. It does, but it's in a more of a they support us. Thank you. Kind of way. Not a yes, money, it's not that.
No.
Yeah, you're something to smile about. You only said kayaking with, is it Louis or Louis?
I don't know. I would say Louis, but I don't actually know. I don't think I've heard the name spoken out loud as it's intended. But anyway, I mean, it's a cat. It probably doesn't matter. Also, sadly, passed away in May, so it matters slightly less. But I stumbled upon, so like many people, you can have these problems with like algorithms and your feeds on whatever platform of choice suddenly becoming flooded with the one or the other thing related to a video that you watched because that one you wanted to see, not the other 25 pretenders that come along afterwards. Somehow, and I don't know exactly how, my timeline in YouTube posted a video of a cat on a kayak, and I was like, oh, it's a cat on the internet. Of course I got to watch this. So I clicked it, and it's called Louis Wildlife or Louis Wildlife. And it's a channel that was run by, I believe, a woman in Spreewald area, so southeast of Berlin. And it's a beautiful like nature reserve area and stuff. Lots of canals and houses next to the water and that kind of thing. But very rural, very chill. And this is all about a cat called Louis, and he would just get on this kayak and they would just paddle along the canal. And these are little like 10-minute videos, and it's no like big clickbaits or spectacular things or whatever. It's just like every once in a while there'll be like a swan, and the swan will be annoying because it'll hiss at the cat or something, or a duck will bump into the kayak because it didn't notice it coming or something, and then like the cat will get off and just walk around a little bit, and then once he's sniffed the environment out or whatever, get back on the boat and they'll sail off again. And it's just nothing. There's no music, there's no fancy, and the The woman just always stays behind the camera. It's just like it's all about the cat and just kayaking and very chill. And it's so calming and sort of meditative in its way. My word of the day, obviously, I'm being sponsored by the word meditative. And
if only you could say it right.
it's exactly, easy for me to say. Yeah, I highly recommend if you're looking for something to help cleanse your timeline and just stop watching all the clickbait and all the things about, I'm not even going to mention them, but just all the stuff going on in the world all the time. And that's one of the like best and worst, more worst things about the internet. It's just that everything's going on all the time and we've all got to bleat about it and blah, blah, blah. And you're just bombarded by this stuff all the time. Go and check out Louis the cat on a kayak. It'll probably make you smile the way it did to me. And I'm very grateful. And yeah, rest in peace, Louis. Hopefully, they're, what did she call herself? Meowma or something. Her cat mama or whatever. Hopefully the family are happy and maybe giving another happy home to another kitty cat. Who knows? But yeah, worth checking that one out if you can get past wherever else pops up on your screen when you go to YouTube. I recommend it. It's nothing. There's nothing crazy. It's just a cat on a kayak.
Slow TV.
Cool. Yeah.
At its essence. Yeah, we like that. I like looking at the thumbnail. It's definitely it definitely gives those vibes just by looking at the thumbnail of it. Like it's just a cat hanging out and having a nice day on a kayak. Worth it. Over to something wildly different. Something that made me smile recently is one of the creators that continuously pop up on my TikToks is someone who's like, I think it started as a social experiment, not necessarily as this is going to be a trend, this is going to be a thing. It's a guy, he lives in the US, and I think the first time I saw him, he just was out and about on the streets. He put up his tripod, and then on the bit of a side of a street or whatnot, like he started doing what he calls white girl dancing, which is just going with the vibes. He puts on Kesha or whatever it was, I can't remember, modern day pop music, and just dance. Like he just there's jumps, there's wiggles, there's dancing. It's not choreographed or anything. And recently there was a video of him setting up the camera so that he could get ready to do this, because like he's had people start to join him from time to time where they're like just as enthusiastic about this and loving it and being part of it and huge smiles. But recently there was one where he was setting up the camera, and then suddenly in the background you hear, yes, fine. And it was someone who was so happy about catching him in the wild so that they could join in. Like someone was yelling, "Are you the white girl dancing guy?" And you could see this person who was setting up the camera to start to giggle and laugh and be like, yeah, that's me. Because someone had a wonderful day because of that, and it just made me smile. Just if all you want to do to make someone smile, you can just go out in the world and do some white girl dancing. That's all. And on that bombshell, that's where we're going to end this episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Go out there and kayak with cats and white girl dance. But mostly make sure that you stay positive. but stay realistic too. You know, spread a smile, not a vile. I don't know. I tried a motto, it didn't work.
No.
I've been the Tiger. He's been the Grumbles. And without further ado, it's goodbye from me. And goodbye from Grumbles.
Good vibes, everyone.
We'll see you in the next exit.